This podcast is sponsored by FortuneFavours.ie. FortuneFavours.ie is a home workout equipment store and your one-stop shop for all home gym equipment. They are well known for their adjustable dumbbells, which combine 15 different weights in one dumbbell. They have both 24 kg and 40 kg adjustable dumbbells. Check the link in the bio of this episode for more information. So welcome back to yet another episode of the Gaelic Statsman podcast. I'm your host, Matt Hurley. And we're going to discuss the hurling from this weekend. If you didn't check out the football, check it out the previous episode 71 of the podcast. We're with Seamus Brady in that one. And lo and behold, I'm with Seamus yet again to discuss the hurling this weekend for match day 3 at this stage. So, a reminder again that the sponsor is FortuneFavours.ie. Use the code Statsman11 to get 11% off the best home gym equipment around, and that is Statsman11 in all caps. First of all, Seamus, it's an interesting weekend in hurling. Dublin playing Tipperary, and there's other games I'm sure to discuss over the next weekend or so. Cork against Westmeath as well. So, another weekend of action.
Yeah, and obviously we were very nervous at the start of the league that we know how serious our team's going to take it. I think we have seen some good games. I think we have seen some high quality and some new stars definitely for the future. The ones that impressed me the most, I definitely say, like the likes of Sean Lennon from Galway and then Cian O'Sullivan from Dublin are the two that have really jumped out at me at being stars of the future. And looking forward to seeing more action.
Exactly. So, and we'll start off on Saturday evening, 5 o'clock in Croke Park. And I think Seamus mentioned that in the previous episode that this will be a double header with the Dublin Clare game in football. It's Dublin against Tipperary, 5 o'clock on Saturday evening in Croke Park. It's an interesting enough game. Dublin, after a pretty decent start to the league, 3 points over the possible 4. Tipperary have flown by in the league, getting 4 points over the possible 4, really showing up Kilkenny the last day in Nolan Park. So, I know Dublin have performed well enough so far in the league, but even as a Dublin fan, you have to say this is a very tough game.
No, this is going to be seriously tough. I mean, going away to Waterford, we got the draw there, should have won it in the end, when you consider that Waterford were down a man, when Waterford were down to 13 and we had all that time to put them away and we didn't. We only got a draw out of it. That was one that we definitely left behind us. The Antrim game, again, we made that more difficult for ourselves than we needed to. We took the foot off the gas going into the last 10 minutes. Antrim nearly pulled us back. This game against Tipperary, my heart says we're going to win it, but my head says we won't. I think Tipperary have looked really, really good, particularly in the Kilkenny game. They looked outstanding. Jason Ford, the form he's in right now, he's going to be seriously, seriously tough to handle. And I can just see Tipperary winning this one by about 5 points, honestly. Dublin definitely making strides under Donoghue, but I think this one just the bridge is too far for the time being.
Are you impressed with Dublin's talent coming through at the moment? Like, there's still some very good players from last season. There's players coming in from this season, and don't want to toot Cork's old horn, but a certain midfielder is actually from Cork, from the Valley Rovers club, Chris O'Leary. There, he scored 3 points against Antrim the last day. So, they're bringing in new players. Dublin, Micheál Dunn, who seems to be doing a good job, but Aaron seemed to be frustrated about the Dublin hurlers in the last few weeks. Their performance against Antrim, just letting Antrim back into the game. Against Waterford, maybe a missed opportunity against 13 men. So how would you evaluate Dublin in the first 2 games?
Promising, but definitely not ruthless enough. We lacked that killer instinct. Like, Waterford were there for the taking, and they were down to 13 men. They were rattled. They didn't expect the challenge to be as tough as it was, and we didn't put them away when we had them. Same with Antrim. We didn't finish them off. I know we won, but Antrim were coming right back at us. And I think if that game had gone on for another 10 minutes, Antrim had the momentum. Antrim had the bit between their teeth. They just ran out of time. For Dublin, we have to show more killer instinct if we're going to get more results in the future, because we've been trapped now for quite a few years in between the top tier and the tier below the All-Ireland Championship. We've been just too good for the likes of Antrim, for the likes of Laois, for the likes of Westmeath, but we haven't been able to break through that glass ceiling and catch the likes of Galway, Kilkenny, Tipp, Cork. We haven't been able, and then don't even get me started on trying to get up and catch Limerick. Like, we have to look at what's in front of us here first. And, getting a win over Tipperary and Croke Park would be huge for Dublin to do. I think we need to aim for that. It's going to be difficult though. And I don't think we just have it in it just yet. But I think a good performance coming.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it'll be decent enough performance where Tipp should win it in the end. Like, Tipp is an interesting one. Like, they have good young players coming through. Jake Morris seems to be going well so far. Brian O'Mara was brilliant in the Fitzgibbon Cup final. You have Garrett O'Connor, who was hitting them all over the park. You mentioned Jason Ford already. So it seems like Tipp have a good team building now and a very good manager, Liam Cahill. But like, it's going to be interesting in Munster because there's very good teams in Munster already. So do you think Tipp will definitely be building towards that, towards being successful in the Munster Championship, and especially after coming dead last season?
Yeah, no doubt, because last season was unacceptable for Tipperary. When you consider as well that going into it, a lot of people, I think even in Tipperary, believed that they would finish last. It was like all of a sudden they were just completely forgotten how good the likes of Noel McGrath, Jason Ford, how good these guys are. And they just, particularly the game against Waterford, like, that game was there for them. And they just didn't really, it seemed like they didn't even believe themselves that they could get over the line and win that game. So yeah, they need to up their level again and get back competitive in Munster, because the years previously they'd been in the Munster finals, won All Ireland titles. The talent is there. And for Liam Cahill, they've caused such a storm getting Liam Cahill in as Tipperary manager. So they better see some results from it. And I think they're aiming, they're building towards getting out of Munster at the very least.
Exactly. So, and they'll probably win this game at the weekend at 5 o'clock in Croke Park. Yeah, I think 3 wins from 3. That's not bad for a good start for Liam Cahill. The next game in Division 1 is on at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Waterford against Antrim in Farherfield. In Waterford, you'd have to expect Waterford to win this game.
Yeah, I think Waterford take it. I think Davy Fitz, this victory is definitely needed for him, especially when you consider the fact that, his first home game didn't go as he would have planned. He has bounced back, but I think he'll want another win here for sure.
Exactly. So, it's a difficult one to analyse these games in particular. With Cork and Westmeath coming up, and there's a few two-way games and stuff like that. There's the argument: does the league even matter? Look at this particular game in Farherfield. Antrim had to travel all the way down there, looking like complete underdogs. Is there really a point for these games?
Oh, it's a difficult one. How I'd want the league to be. I'd want it to be split up into 6 divisions of 5 teams in each. Or no, sorry, just less teams, where relegation is a real, or 5 divisions of 6 teams each, sorry, where relegation is a real, possibility for each team. And that would eliminate these games where we know who's going down. It's going to be, out of the Antrim, Westmeath, Laois pile every year, and has been for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Like, it's been them every time. So these games do take on a little bit less meaning once, let's be honest, Antrim, Laois and Westmeath all know themselves they're going to battle out between each other to see who can stay up.
Yeah, exactly. So, it should be interesting enough, this game, to see what Watford actually turn up. I think Mikey Kiley suspended for this game. It's going to be interesting to see what forward pops up for Watford in this particular game. We talk about dead rubbers. The next game isn't that at all. Wexford against Clare in Wexford Park at 1:45. Not live on TV, which is kind of a shame when you think about it. But it's an interesting enough game because Clare were so out of it against Limerick the last day. Abe McCarthy hit the lights out, David Reedy, but the rest of the team were pretty much off it. Wexford obviously getting a expected win against Westmeath. Let's be real, the last day, but their last big enough game against Galway, they lost pretty comfortably. So both teams need a win really they don't really need a win because they're going to be staying up otherwise, but for confidence maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to go Wexford to win this one. I think Wexford take the league a little bit more seriously than Clare do. Clare didn't really take it seriously last year, and Wexford beat them last year. So I think it will be a repeat dosage. They'll want to rectify, the mistakes that they made against Galway. But yeah, as you're right, sadly, I could see it going either way. That's the honest truth, because I feel like neither side really care to a level where they're going to be willing to die to win this. They're not going to risk their best players. So I think the result will be more or less it will be the equivalent of, say, if you had two boxers sparring in a gym. Like, they're not going to go 100%. They're not going to show everything to each other of what they can do. It's not applicable to a real actual boxing match. And this isn't applicable to a real championship match. They're going to level up and they're going to go up against each other, but they're not going to throw everything they have at this.
Do you think that's a kind of a tactic for Clare in particular? Because the game against Limerick, they were out of it, as I said. They have some very good players coming through, like Mark Rogers, Robin Mounsey, who did so well in the Fitzgibbon Cup. You look at David Reedy, Aidan McCarthy adding a free taker there. And you look at their form in the last league campaign, it wasn't particularly good either. I think they got 3 points out of a possible 10 or something like that last season. So, there is an argument. Are Clare taking the Munster Championship more seriously than the league? And are they right to do that?
I think they absolutely are. I think they're not taking the league seriously at all. I'm not saying it in a disrespectful way. I'm saying that they're being clever. Look at what happened to Waterford last year. We're going to use that example again. Like, Waterford looked so good in the league, and then when it came around to the championship, they had nothing left. You look at Cork as well. Cork got to that, league final. They looked very, very good in the league semi-final in particular, beating Kilkenny. A lot of momentum around Cork hurling. And then in the opening game of Munster Championship, they looked so off the pace. Like, they looked like they had nothing in the tank against the Limerick side that had taken the league off and built up for championship. I think Clare, not saying that they don't care as in they turn up and, throw the game. They don't do that. But I think as long as they stay up, they don't really care what happens in the league. They're building their team to be ready for day one in the Munster Championship. That's truly what they believe. They view this as.
Exactly so. And I probably back Wexford to win this game as well. And Clare are definitely gearing up for the Munster Championship. And as we said, there's no risk of relegation for Clare at all. And they're basically going to breeze through this game. Well, they'll lose it anyway, but I think they'll definitely go well in the Munster Championship like last year. The next game, Cork against Westmeath. In terms of the result in this game, 145 in Páirc Uí Chaoimh on Sunday, is there any really need to talk about it?
No, Cork win. I think it's pretty simple. Cork win by however much they want to. Westmeath are definitely making progress, but this is way above their level.
Yeah, it is now. And just really one question to ask about this. Cork, you mentioned that they went well in the league last season. They then flat to deceive in the Munster Championship in the first 2 games particularly, and the league final to an extent as well against Waterford, losing the 3 Munster teams in 3 games. Is there that kind of feel about Cork this season? They'll definitely, well, we're going to say 6 points from 6, and they're starting the league well. Is there a similar vibe to Cork this season?
As in that they're focusing on the championship instead of the league?
As in they're peaking too early.
I wouldn't say so. No, I think that they look pretty good against Limerick, yes, but I think that Limerick had them absolutely in the palm of their hand at stages in the first half when Gearóid Hegarty was on the field. So I don't think that they've hit their peak yet. I would hope that they haven't. Definitely would hope that they haven't, because they do have things to work on. But I'd be fairly confident that Cork can go better than what they've gone so far.
Yeah, definitely so. They've definitely good young players coming through the ranks as well. Shane Barrett still coming into the team. Patrick Horgan doing well. Robbie O'Flynn still to come back for championship. And Dickie Dawson scoring 8 points the last day. Very good performance from him, but no contest. As
any Ben Cunningham involvement so far?
No involvement so far, but he was on the bench the last day when Hoggy was missing through injury. So okay. he might
hopefully, because he looked like a serious player there with Finn Barrett.
He did know, yeah, very serious player. And you'd hope they'll get involved. Hopefully they play a second team, more or less, because they're going to win this game anyway against Westmeath. And it's about showing up to the fans. And also, like the Dublin game, this is also a doubleheader. Bit of a downer for the Cork fans when you think about it, a doubleheader. Cork against Westmeath in hurling, Cork and Limerick in football. They easily could be 2 one-sided encounters. So I don't think it'll be a big crowd like there was against Dublin Páirc Uí Chaoimh last Sunday, but we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. The next game, again, a bit of a dead rubber. I know it's in Portlaoise. Laois against Kilkenny, 2:00. You'd have to expect Kilkenny to win this game as well.
Yeah, no, Kilkenny to win. Definitely, they need to bounce back from the the game against Tipperary, where they just looked like Tipperary could beat them by however much they please at certain stages. So, yeah, I think they're going to take out that anger on Laois, and I think it's going to be a Kilkenny win.
Yeah, definitely so. But like, what kind of disappointed you about Kilkenny's performance the last day against Tipp? Maybe the first half, like I seen on the analysis part on Allianz League Sunday, like they were so open defensively. I know Tipp played brilliant, Jason Ford played brilliant, Jake Morris got a brilliant goal as well. But the fact that Kilkenny were so open, is this a cause of concern for Derek Ling and his management team?
Definitely, because it looked, and that was the thing to answer your question about what was most disappointing. That was most disappointing. Kilkenny looked. And when I saw Park Walsh been put back at centre back, I was thinking like they're even stronger, I think, in defence than they were in the championship. And they just Tipperary looked like they could have scored however many goals they liked in the first half, were it not for the brilliance of Aidan Tallis between the sticks. He made some fantastic saves. They just looked so vulnerable. And Tipperary, the likes of Jason Ford, if you let Jason Ford hurl like that, he'll absolutely kill you. He's not someone to let free like that. And they just completely let him have the freedom of the pitch. They cannot do that against, Laois with the likes of Paddy Purcell and so on. Like, they will put up, a big enough tally against them if they do that again. Like, Laois do score a lot, but they also concede a lot. So I still think Kilkenny will win. But yeah, they definitely need to show me in this game that they're making improvements defensively.
Exactly so. And a bit of a mention to Roy Malani with 2-3 from play so far for Laois. Like, that's a bright spark for the Laois fans. Definitely 2-2 against Waterford, pretty good scoring from the centre-back. The last game isn't a dead rubber whatsoever when you look at the two teams involved. Galway against Limerick on at 2:30 p.m. on live on TG Car, the only live game in hurling this weekend. And rightly so, because you look at the All-Ireland semi-final last year, Galway could have easily won that. They obviously beat Limerick in the Gaelic grounds last season. Like, this could be a confidence booster for Henry Sheffield and his team. Like, Limerick looked excellent last day, even without Aaron Gallan and Declan Hannon and Dermot Burns the last day. But really, I know it's the league, but it's a good opportunity for Galway to kind of stamp their authority on this Limerick side.
Yeah, I'm going Galway to win. I think Galway just have, been fantastic so far. I know that they had obviously a blip the last day, but no, they looked very, very good against Wexford. And considering the fact that they beat Limerick last year, I think Shefflin's taking the league a bit more seriously than Limerick are, and I think they're going to win this one.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays. So just a word on Limerick, like they're missing Dermot Burns, Declan Hannon, Aaron Gallan, a load of players missing in this team. Cian Lynch in the first game for the majority against Cork. David Reedy went off early as well. And they're bringing these new players like Oisin O'Reilly, Donico Dollig, Adam English, who's excellent, not just attacking, but he's brilliant in the middle of the field as well. They're bringing in these new players, Kieran Barry wing back as well, and they don't seem to be slowing down. So this is not good for the rest of the country.
Oh yeah, because it's one of those things where you're like, you really don't need another quality forward, and then Adam English pops up. You really don't need another quality halfback, and then Colin Coughlin pops up. Like, Cian Lynch gets injured, and Cathal O'Neill steps up and does an incredible job. Like, their squad depth is ridiculous. David Reedy was the winning the game against Galway when he came on. The impact he made off the bench, like, they have depth upon depth, and for sure, Limerick. They don't need, if anybody doesn't need more players, it's Limerick, but they keep finding them. And John Kiley and Paul Kinnerk continue to work the magic with this side.
Exactly so, and that's all Division 1 there. We're going to discuss Division 2A briefly, but before we discuss the games, like I said this on Aaron's podcast as well, it was just frustration because the one weekend where there was just hurling specifically, there was no football, and RTE's Allianz League Sunday didn't show any Division 2 games. Despite the fact Kildare and Down was shown on the BBC iPlayer, they had the camera equipment for that. Like, is there an argument that the likes of RTE and Sky Sport and GA Go kind of put down these counties? And is it a reason that they're not developing as often as we like? Because, like, I know they aren't the best quality, but I'd love to see how Kerry are doing. Offaly, Carlow, Down, Kildare, who have had an excellent start to the Division 2 campaign. It's just frustrating in many ways.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where, like, as the slogan obviously for the ladies Gaelic football, if she can't see it, she can't be it. I've never seen half of these counties play a hurling match before. Like, I've honestly never seen a Donegal team play a hurling match. Like, have you?
No. Haven't I? I've actually heard from Patrick Sharkey from GA's own how good a player Jerry Gilmore is, but I haven't seen him.
Mm-hmm. And there you go. Like the only times it gets broadcast is for the finals. Like it's one of those things where like they're letting it happen, but it's very much like how they treated the Tommy Murphy Cup and stuff like this. Like any competitions that were a bit low, they knew they couldn't get away with it with the Tolchin Cup because everybody was on them to cover that. But yeah, with this, look, I think they should have at least did the little match recaps that they sometimes do. Like show something of it.
Exactly, yeah. And for obvious reasons, we can't go to 2B, 3A, 3B on this podcast because we don't know any of the players at 3. We've only known,
exactly.
we know no coverage at all. And we just know the players, like I mentioned, Patrick Sharkey and Jay's own talk about Jerry Gilmore. I see, even Kerry, I see a account of Kerry Hurling talk about Shane Conway. Like, I wouldn't have known how good a player Shane Conway is if it wasn't for them Instagram accounts on social media. It's ridiculous, really. It's ridiculous in a way. But yeah, we're going to discuss Division 2A anyway. Kerry gets Offaly 2 p.m. at Fitzgerald Stadium on Saturday. Like, it's a crucial game, really, for Kerry. I know both sides are on 4 points, but apparently, according to Kerry fans, they were pretty poor against a Carlow team that went down to 14 men pretty early, and they're kind of looking for a performance in this game. It's going to be very tough against Offaly, though.
Yeah, it's an Offaly side as well, that are definitely on the right track. You look at all the the absolute superstars that are coming through the Offaly ranks there, the likes of Adam Screeney that are coming up the ranks, riding off that momentum, and the players that they have, the likes of Owen Cahill and so on. I'm just going to go Offaly to get this victory against Kerry. I think Offaly have a little bit more behind them right now.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd probably go Offaly to win this game as well. And we move on to Sunday, Derry against Kildare at 12:30 in Owen Big, despite the football game between the pair being on the Newbridge. The GA, everyone. Yeah, that's the world we live in, Seamus. Like it's pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah, that makes absolutely no sense. I get that you have fixtures and everything, but the games are on the same day, aren't they?
They're on the same day on a Sunday, yeah. One's on at 12:30 in Owen Big and the other's on at 2:00 in Newbridge.
I mean, talk about logic. Where are all the fans going to go?
So I'd say this place will be a ghost town Owen Big though on Sunday.
Stop.
Yeah.
I'd say there'll be a couple of young lads looking to go for a kick around. Oh, we'll try go for a big kick and practice in Owen Beg. Oh, there's a match on. Like one of those there. Like all the fans are gonna go to Derry against Kildare and Newbridge. Why did they not even make it like an option of, do you want to play it as a double header? I'm sure they would have said yes.
Yeah. It would have brought in more fans and it would have
100%
raised the profile about hurling as well. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that just shows that they must not really give a toss. Like they must not.
Yeah, they mustn't have. And especially it's so disappointing because as I mentioned at the top of the Division 2A coverage that we're going to cover here on the podcast, Kildare have won 2 games out of 2, 4 points on the board. They've been absolutely superb in their first 2 games. It's just a shame that the football's on in Newbridge just nearly miles away. And no hurling fan is going to go up for Kildare because they're all going to watch the footballers.
Exactly. You look at Kildare actually have way more momentum in the hurling right now than they do in the football. In the football, they're very inconsistent, but in the hurling, you look at the progress made by the likes of Naas. Look at the game that they gave to Ballyhale in the club championship, the victory they had over the Offaly champions there, over Shinrone, sorry, and they just have been going stride to stride. You look at the form of the likes of Jack Robinson. Like these guys are going from strength to strength, and yeah, I am going with them to get this victory over Derry. I know that Derry are a very, very strong side, but all their best players, in my opinion, the Slough-Neil boys, will all be down playing football. So I think Kildare take this one.
Probably will, yeah. At least we said in the last episode there that Kildare will lose, but they'll win in Owen Big. So it's not all about Kildare fans. James Burke will be firing for the Kildare hurlers. So yeah, you'll have a very good win. And yeah, Kildare hurling on the rise, which is absolutely brilliant to see because the more we have teams coming up in the hurling, the better, really.
Mm-hmm. Oh, without doubt, because you look at the John McDonagh Cup now. The John McDonagh Cup used to be, when you come up with it as easy, and now it's not. You look at the teams there like Offaly, Laois, like Kerry, and then Kildare, Derry, these teams on the rise. It's not an easy place to get out of anymore.
It's not really, no. And Offaly thought they'd get out easily, and then they didn't in the end. And you have to feel so sorry for Kerry in a way. 3 finals, 3 losses. I mean,
stop.
Jesus, like, when are they going to go up? Well, at least if they do go up, there's no confusion. No, they will go straight into the Munster Championship. No qualms about it. So at least that. But the last game in Division 2 days, Carlow against Down, 2 o'clock. Both sides in pretty bad form. Like, Carlow have lost their 2 opening games, which is kind of a surprise. Look at the players they have at their disposal, especially Martin Mouse Kavanagh, Chris Nolan, John Nolan, some very good players. Down were fine this last season and seem to be struggling. So, yeah, it's a crucial game, this.
It's a crucial one, and I think that Carlow are going to take it. I think Carlow, as you mentioned, they're the players that they have, the likes of Martin Kavanagh, the likes of John Nolan. I am going to go with them to turn a corner on this one and pick up the points because, as you said, their start so far has been way below par, especially considering what they have done over the last few years.
Exactly. So, and I'll probably back Carlow, especially in Nate Cullen Park. It should be a pretty comprehensive win for Carlow. But we'll wrap it up there. Thanks very much for anybody that viewed the podcast or listened in. And thanks, Seamus, for coming on. Leave the podcast a like, subscribe on Spotify and YouTube. Follow GA Statsman on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, all that good stuff. And yeah, thanks, Seamus, for coming on today.
No worries, Matthew. Thanks for having me on again.